In a sea of copper pennies, some carry stories far beyond their humble face value. Among them lies the unassuming yet astonishingly valuable 1979 D. Lincoln 1-cent penny, a coin that might just be sitting in someone's pocket, waiting to rewrite their fortune. Welcome to a tale of imperfection, history, and the extraordinary results of minting missteps. It begins with the Denver Mint in 1979. This was a bustling time for U.S. coin production. Inflation was still a lingering concern, the economy had its ups and downs, and Americans were turning their attention to small things, like pennies. Over 6 billion Lincoln cents were minted in Denver that year, each bearing the sharp D mint mark below the date. They looked alike, uniform, and consistent. But not all was as it seemed. Hidden among those billions were errors, small deviations caused by human oversight or mechanical wear. To the casual eye, these coins may appear ordinary. But the collector's lens reveals secrets, flaws that transform pocket change into valuable rarities. One of the most striking examples comes from a doubled die obverse. Though rare, this variety in the 1979 D. Lincoln penny featured clear doubling on the inscriptions, "Liberty" and "In God We Trust." The doubling wasn't just slight, it was bold and unmistakable under magnification. Collectors who spotted this error early held on, and those who found one later knew they had something special. In 2021, a near-mint specimen with bold doubling sold at auction for $5,760, proving how a small misalignment can lead to a massive payday. Another variety that drew attention was the repunched mint mark, known among collectors as an RPM. The Denver mint mark D appeared twice on some coins, slightly offset. Though subtle, this anomaly created intense buzz in the numismatic world. It was a result of hand-punching techniques used during the minting process before the full automation era. One such RPM coin, graded MS66 red by PCGS, achieved a sale price of $3,200 at auction. Then there's the infamous BI error. On the obverse, some 1979 D. Lincoln cents developed a die break between the letters B and E in "Liberty," forming what looks like an I, hence the nickname. While not unique to 1979, the BIE error was seen with high frequency that year, and some examples fetched surprising sums. One particularly sharp BIE example sold for $1,275 in 2020. Yet perhaps the most visually jarring were the off-center strikes. These coins came out of the mint visibly skewed, sometimes with part of Lincoln's portrait or the date sliced off, leaving the rest of the coin oddly shaped and compellingly unique. The more off-center while still showing the full date and mint mark, the more valuable the coin. A dramatic 40% off-center strike graded MS64 red sold for a shocking $4,600 at a Midwest coin show, but the emotional heartbeat of this story doesn't lie in die varieties or strike anomalies alone, it lies in the stories they generate. One grandmother in Arizona passed along a coin jar to her grandson, who started examining each coin for fun. Among them sat a 1979 D. Lincoln penny with a clear RPM and minimal circulation wear. He had it graded, and to their amazement, it returned as MS65 red. The auction brought in $2,980, which they used toward his college fund. That penny became a symbol of discovery, family, and unexpected fortune, and consider the tale of a Texas schoolteacher who used coin collecting as a way to bond with students. One of her students found a 1979 D penny with a significant die clash error, where parts of Lincoln's face showed faint but eerie impressions from the reverse side. That coin, authenticated and auctioned in early 2023, sold for $3,450. The funds helped the student buy books and equipment to pursue a degree in archaeology. Even the common struck-through grease error has surfaced in this issue. Coins where parts of Lincoln's face or jacket appear faded or melted due to grease-filled dies can draw hundreds when certified. One example with an almost ghost-like appearance over the motto sold $4,860. For collectors, these stories are more than numbers, they are modern treasure hunts. The beauty of the 1979 D penny lies in its contradiction. It's a coin that should be forgettable. Billions were made. It's not silver or ancient. And yet, with the right flaws and a little luck, it becomes something unforgettable. A single cent that buys much more than a moment, it buys legacy. Here are the most notable auction results for the 1979 D. Lincoln 1-cent penny error varieties: double die obverse, PCGS MS65 red, sold $4.05, 760 RPM variety, PCGS MS66 red, sold $4.03, 200 BIE die break error, raw but sharp, sold $4.01, 27540% off-center strike, NGC MS64 red, sold $4.04, 600 die clash obverse, PCGS MS63 brown, sold $4.03, 450 struck, through grease error, PCGS MS64 red brown, sold $4.860. The moral is simple: never overlook a coin just because it's modern or common. The 1979 D. Lincoln penny is a powerful reminder that error creates opportunity. Check your jars. Search your rolls. Examine your change. You never know what a single cent might be hiding. They say greatness often hides in plain sight. But would you believe that a simple penny, something most people ignore or toss in a jar, might secretly be worth tens of thousands of dollars? Now imagine it's a 2015 D. Lincoln 1-cent penny. A coin minted by the millions, exchanged without thought, yet among them, a few rare errors lurk. Errors so elusive, so fascinating, they've shocked even the most seasoned coin collectors. This isn't just a story of copper and zinc. This is a story of chance, precision, and the value of paying attention. The Denver Mint was buzzing in 2015. Machines thundered, stamping Lincoln's familiar profile onto blank planchets, churning out coins by the second. Accuracy was everything. Uniformity was the goal. But the very nature of mass production leaves room for imperfection, and that's where the magic began. Most people wouldn't notice a small doubling in the word liberty or a subtle distortion in the date. But the numismatics world lives for such details. Among rolls of ordinary pennies, sharp-eyed collectors began finding strange inconsistencies. Lincoln's features looked distorted, shadows in places that shouldn't exist, letters that seemed slightly echoed. What they had stumbled upon was a genuine doubled die obverse, a minting error caused when the coin die strikes the same image twice, but slightly misaligned. This type of error doesn't just create a flaw, it creates a treasure. Then came the rumors of another oddity. Coins with Lincoln's image shifted slightly to the side, as if the design had been nudged during striking. These were off-center strikes, often dismissed as factory mistakes. But in this case, the mistakes became collectors' dreams. The rarer the shift, and the more intact the date and mint mark, the higher the demand. One collector described it as holding history gone a bit haywire. Another said it was like finding a Picasso with a brushstroke out of place. But the true showstopper was the Scarface Lincoln. Collectors gasped at the sight, a deep dye crack slicing across Lincoln's cheek like a battle scar. It wasn't a design. It wasn't damage from circulation. It was a die break, a dramatic flaw from a worn or damaged die. In numismatics, this kind of imperfection is gold. It creates uniqueness. It creates stories. And when it was certified and sent to auction, its value leapt far beyond what anyone expected. Another category of bizarre errors came into the spotlight: struck through grease errors. These occur when excess grease or debris clogs the dies, leaving parts of the design faint or missing. One example of this surfaced with Lincoln's face ghosted, like a fading memory stamped into copper. It was eerie, beautiful, and rare. That coin sold for over $2,000, more than 200,000 times its face value, but it didn't stop there. One collector discovered a coin with a die clash, a result of the coin dies striking each other with no planchet in between. The faint outline of Monticello from a reverse die was inexplicably transferred onto Lincoln's head. It's as if the coin remembered a design that never belonged. This strange mishap stunned collectors and fetched a premium at auction. Now let's talk condition. Even without errors, condition alone can make a 2015 D penny incredibly valuable. A pristine example, blazing red in hue and struck in flawless MS69 condition, went under the hammer and took in over $4,350. For a penny that costs just 1 cent to make, that's the kind of return that turns heads and empties piggy banks. But what truly captures the imagination are the human stories behind the discoveries. A retired veteran in Kentucky once found an off-center 2015 D penny while counting change at a gas station. At first, he almost dismissed it. But something about it felt off. He pocketed it, researched it, and submitted it for grading. The coin came back MS66, with a clear 10% off-center strike and full red color. When he auctioned it, it sold for over $1,000. He later used that money to take his grandson on a trip they'd always dreamed of. That's not just profit, that's memory-making. Another story came from a single mother in Arizona who picked out a coin from her son's coin jar that looked strangely smooth. It turned out to be a struck-through grease error, authenticated and sold privately for $2,100. To her, it meant a month of groceries. To collectors, it meant another marvel born from minting mishap. These aren't just coins. They're time capsules. Artifacts. A perfect blend of human engineering and unpredictable imperfection. The 2015 D. Lincoln 1-cent error coins prove that the most valuable things are often the ones we least expect. A minor misstep at the Denver Mint transformed common currency into coveted collectibles. And somewhere out there, maybe even in your change jar, another one waits to be found. So the next time someone scoffs at a penny, you might smile and check the date. Because while most will ignore it, you know the secret. You know that history, value, and mystery might be hiding in the simplest coin of all. Auction prices of 2015 D. Lincoln 1-cent penny errors. Die Clash error, MS68 plus red, sold $4.14. 800 struck through grease, PCGS certified, sold $4.2. 100 double die obverse, MS66 red, sold $4.6. 125 off, center strike, 10%. Raw, sold $4.1. 020 full red, MS69 normal strike, sold $4.4. 350 die break. Scarface Lincoln, MS65, sold $4.2. 600. So check your pockets, look closely, and remember, every coin has a story. And some stories are worth a small fortune. There are coins that shimmer with silver and gold, ones that trace their lineage back to kings, revolutions, and ancient empires. And then, there is the 2004 Lincoln 1-cent penny. A coin so ordinary, so easily dismissed, it's often the last thing we notice in a handful of change. But what if I told you that tucked within this modest copper-plated coin lies a secret? A whisper from the mint, an error so rare, so unexpected, that it turned this everyday coin into something truly extraordinary. The year was 2004. The world was caught in the rapid pulse of the digital age, but the U.S. Mint in Philadelphia was still producing coins the old-fashioned way, billions of them. The Lincoln cent, already a staple in American currency since 1909, was rolling out in massive quantities. The Philadelphia Mint alone was responsible for more than 3.9 billion Lincoln cents that year. With such massive production, perfection is expected, but mistakes, even microscopic ones, can and do happen, and for a collector, those mistakes are golden. In 2004, several different types of errors slipped through the cracks. Most people never noticed them. But those who did, they saw opportunity. One of the most astonishing was the double die reverse. If you look closely at the Lincoln Memorial on some 2004 pennies, you'll notice something strange. The columns appear thicker, almost like shadows of themselves. The letters of United States of America and E pluribus unum show faint duplications. To an untrained eye, it might look like a printing error or wear from circulation. But to a numismatist, it's the telltale signature of a double die. This phenomenon occurs when the die itself is improperly manufactured, receiving a second impression at a slightly different angle. The result is a coin that is essentially stamped twice. These are not minor misalignments. These are bold, visible to the naked eye. And rare, then, there were off-center strikes. A misfed planchet can cause Lincoln's iconic bust to be pushed dramatically to the side, leaving blank space where design elements should be. The more off-center the strike, while still keeping the date and mint mark intact, the higher the value. Some 2004 pennies have shown up with 20% to 40% off-center errors. These aren't just oddities. They're conversation starters. And they fetch significant sums. Another fascinating error type is the BIE error. Found between the letters B and E in Liberty, a vertical die break forms what looks like a tiny capital I. These die breaks happen due to aging dies developing cracks during heavy use. While this may sound like a minor flaw, certain die breaks are very distinct and are even sought after by series specialists. For 2004 cents, BAE errors have appeared in several specimens and are in high demand, and just when you thought it couldn't get stranger, some 2004 Lincoln cent surfaced with what experts call a struck-through error. That's when debris, grease, or even a piece of fabric gets between the die and the planchet during striking. The result? A coin that looks like a ghost image of Lincoln, or one missing entire portions of the design. These coins, though eerie, are incredibly valuable due to their uniqueness, but the crown jewel of 2004 Lincoln cent errors is the wide AM variety. Most 2004 pennies should feature a close AM in the word America on the reverse. However, a few elusive specimens surfaced with a wider space between the A and M, a trait associated with reverse dies meant for proof coins. These proof dies were never supposed to be used for business strikes. But somewhere, somehow, a few slipped into circulation. It's a minting mystery that has haunted and thrilled collectors alike. The emotional weight of discovering one of these coins cannot be overstated. Imagine a teenager flipping through rolls of pennies for fun, not expecting anything more than face value. Then, under the dim kitchen light, something glimmers just a bit differently. The letters seem off. The spacing is strange. A few photos online and some magnification later, the realization hits: it's not just a penny. It's a key to a hidden world. A link to a mistake that transformed a common coin into a collector's trophy. One young collector in Colorado found a double die reverse in a roll of pennies bought from the bank. He sent it off for grading. When it returned with a high MS66 red designation, he listed it at auction. The hammer came down at $3,200. Not bad for a 1-cent investment. In Florida, a retiree stumbled upon a wide AM 2004 penny while sorting change after a grocery run. It was circulated, but still clearly displayed the unusual spacing. PCGS authenticated the variety and gave it an $58 grade. That coin later sold for $1,800 in a private sale. A coin dealer in Nevada acquired a group of struck-through error pennies from an estate. One 2004 cent in particular had what looked like a thread imprinted across Lincoln's neck and shoulder, a struck-through fabric error. This peculiar coin, due to its eye-catching anomaly, sold at auction $4,450. Even more shockingly, a near-perfect MS69 2004 Lincoln penny with brilliant red luster and no errors sold for $2,200. This shows that even flawless examples, though not erroneous, can carry high value due to condition alone. The 2004 Lincoln 1-cent penny reminds us that every coin is a piece of machinery, art, and history combined. It is struck with precision, but not immune to the beautiful chaos of imperfection. These imperfections, these happy accidents, are what fuel the hearts of collectors around the world. So the next time you pick up a penny, think twice. Look at it under a magnifying glass. Study the letters. Examine Lincoln's cheek, the spacing between letters, the edges. Because 1 in a million isn't just a saying. In numismatics, it could be the very coin in your hand. Notable auction results for 2004 Lincoln 1-cent error coins: double die reverse, MS66 red $3, 200 wide AM variety, $58 1, 800 struck through fabric error, $4, 0.50 off, center strike, 30% off, MS64 red $1, 450 BE error, uncirculated, raw $4.25 perfect strike MS69 red, $2,200.